Good day, everyone. I'm Miss Karen, and I'm the head instructor here in ATI Philippines. I'm going to conduct a demo teaching for the 120 hours Tesol certification course. Okay, so the general objective of this course is to provide teachers the guidelines related to knowledge and behaviors that Tesol teachers must demonstrate in order to be successful certified Tesol teachers anywhere around the world. Okay, to achieve this purpose, first, we must learn as teachers to use research as instrument to assist in continuous quality improvement. By the end of this course, you are also required to design and implement lesson plans that reflect best teaching practices. After that, you're going to develop a system how to monitor and assess your learners' progress. Okay, so do you have any idea what Tesol is all about?
It's all about teaching.
And practicing.
Okay, so correct. Tesol is an acronym for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. So we consider this as a blanket term covering situations in which English is taught and learned as a second language, as well as those in which it is learned as a foreign language. So we have two important terms here, ESL and EFL. What is the difference between these two terms? Do you have any idea?
I think with ESL, English is widely used, but EFL is not.
Yeah, and I think most Asian countries are EFL countries. Like, they don't really use English as a medium of instruction, whereas with ESL, it's widely used, like what she said.
Okay, perfect. So when you say ESL, it is used to refer to situations in which English is being taught and learned in countries, contexts, and cultures in which English is the predominant language of communication. So if English is used as a medium of instruction in schools and in the workplace, then that country is an ESL country. It is also current in countries where English is widely used as a lingua franca, just like Hong Kong, Singapore, Philippines, and India. Okay? So, for example, in the countries like Australia, Canada, New Zealand, UK, and USA, so immigrants there learning English is under ESL. Okay? Now, on the other hand, English as a foreign language is used in contexts where English is neither widely used for communication, okay, nor as a medium of instruction in schools. So therefore, English is a foreign language to them. The importance of these two terms is on the application of teaching in context. So ESL and EFL have different syllabus and teaching practices inside the classroom. Okay, why? Because in ESL, they have exposure beyond the classroom in the target language, unlike EFL, wherein the target language is only inside the classroom. Now, English is a global language, right? So its rapid expansion has led to the questioning between, is it an ESL, a first language, or is it a second language? Now, as teachers, what are our goals in teaching English? Okay?
For them to be able to communicate.
Exactly. So the ultimate goal of teaching English is for communication. So therefore, if we're going to focus on communication, we need to focus on the 4 macro skills, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing, taking into consideration the specific social and cultural context normal to the learner's age, level of development, needs, and interests. Okay? So, Actually, the long-term objective of Tesol is on everyday communication, whether it be academic or for occupational purposes. So what should be our objectives as teachers, as Tesol teachers? What should be foremost in your mind?
To develop the communication skills and be able to express yourselves in to different types of people that you meet.
Okay, so still in communication, right? So as Tesol teachers, in order for us to help our students learn how to communicate, first we should examine methods, approaches, activities, practices available to our Tesol environment. Okay? And after examining these methods and approaches, we are going to choose and implement the most appropriate approaches for our specific students, okay, for the needs of our students. And after that, we will be able to design and implement lesson plans that will reflect the best teaching practices. So it's not enough that we design and implement these lesson plans. The most important part also of teaching is how to develop systems so that we can monitor and assess the students' progress. Okay? So, let's go now to ethics. How is ethics related to teaching?
Because of course, as a teacher, you have to have a good, like, you have to have ethics. You have to have a good values, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you say ethics, what's your understanding of it?
Like what's right and wrong, morally right and wrong when you're doing something, especially in teaching. Like what may be correct in our culture may be not correct the other culture of the students that you're teaching.
Okay. So, let's first define ethics. Ethics are rules that govern the individual's behavior according to the values of each society or community without the coercive public force to enforce compliance. So here, each society or community have different rules because they have different values. So, Miss Uni is correct, whatever, what is acceptable to one country may not be acceptable in another country. What is appropriate to our culture may not be appropriate to another culture. What we may consider ethical may be not ethical to another culture. So understanding the good ethical behaviors of a teacher is directly related to our effectivity in our teaching strategies. Okay? So why is it then important to Tesol, understanding the importance of ethical behavior?
You got to know the students more, and then you would have like a good relationship because you're not offending them, something like that.
Okay.
And it's like intercultural awareness. Like if you're more sensitive on what the student is feeling and what is accepted to them, it'll be easier for you to assimilate the lesson.
Okay, perfect. So, Tesol has an international reach. So we cater not just to our own country, but also to other countries. So we need to have good ethical behavior so we can be good and effective teachers. So in learning that, we need to understand that being a good teacher, we must have these three elements of success, which are, first, you need to have knowledge. Knowledge about what?
About the subject.
Okay, knowledge about the subject, which is English, right? So you need to know more and study about English because you will be the source of information for your students, right? But knowing English is not enough for you to be a good teacher. Transferring that knowledge to the student is the skill, okay? So a young brother can teach a younger sibling how to tie shoelaces. That's a transfer of knowledge. So that's a skill. Teaching is a skill. So you need to be able to transfer your knowledge in English to your students. But do you think that's enough for you to be able to transfer knowledge, to be an effective teacher?
Now,
You got the attitude.
Yes. So without the attitude, having the right attitude for your students, building relationship of trust is also important in the learning process. So assess yourselves. So what elements here do you still need to improve on? Do you still need improvements on your knowledge about the subject, your teaching skills, or your attitude? So focus on what you can improve, okay, so you can become an effective teacher. Now, Tesol teaching is a profession with significant international reach. Therefore, it needs to be regulated and guided in the right direction. And knowing and understanding ethics will help us achieve that. Okay? So, we have many ethical rules. Okay? Even the contracting institution, the institutional environment, the working policies are part of our responsibility as teachers to know. Okay? So, it will be different for each group and for each country. So, as teachers, we need to research. Research on the target country that you're going to work for. Understanding their culture. And understanding the policies of the organization that you're going to work for will help you adjust well and prepare better for your work. Okay? So, important characteristics that we should develop are first, ability to gain the learner's trust. Okay? Why? Why do you think this is very important?
Because you need to establish a relationship with students.
Okay. So people or the students won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So trust is the most important thing to be built first before you teach them. Okay, gain their trust. Next, we should also develop the ability to find out what learners need and develop plans for addressing those needs. So how are we going to know the needs of our students? What should be done?
through an assessment.
Okay. So we need to have an assessment first to know our students, the profile of our students, their educational background, their hobbies, their interests. Okay, so aside from the formal assessments, we need to get to know them through interview to assess their needs and goals. Next, after assessing their needs, to be able to address those needs, we need to create and evaluate plans. Okay, that would be part of our lesson plans. And also, we should develop the ability to implement adequate systems for measuring progress and helping to enhance learners' performance. So the assessment is getting the baseline for your students. So you would know if they are progressing with the lesson because you know where they started. Okay? So you can have the goals for them. Next, we should have the ability to know and love the subject, which is teaching English. When you love the subject that you will teach, you'll have the passion for it, you will have the patience for your students. Okay? So, what is the importance of Tesol training then for you, having known these things?
It will help me to be an effective teacher of other languages because I'm used to, like my own country. So it will really help me widen my idea or with knowledge about how to teach other culture as well.
Also, career advancement because I think it's a different field when you teach people who don't speak the same language as you do and meeting it halfway. So,
Okay. So Hamachek said that if it's true that good teachers are able to communicate what they know in a manner that makes sense to their students, then we must assist our teacher candidates both through example and appropriate experiences to the most effective way of doing this. And Tesol training is going to do just that. Help you to prepare for a work that is very demanding but very rewarding. Okay? So, we'll go to the assessment of the needs and interests of our students. So, when we are going to profile our students, we need to know about the 4 skills, their level on the 4 skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So knowing this, ask what their goals are, why they're studying English. It may be they're preparing for a vacation. It may be they're preparing to have an entrance test in their college examinations. It can be a preparation for work. So ask them their goals and their needs so we can again design a plan that will target their needs. Okay, so after asking them about their goals and learning about their needs, we should identify the abilities that they already have. So we're going to have a formal assessment for them, like a diagnostic test maybe, or it can be informal, like interview, asking them questions. After identifying the abilities, then we can know what are the things that they're going to develop. Like they need to improve speaking, writing, or all 4 of them. So after learning there or identifying the abilities, we can plan instructions and identify the best teaching method for them. Because for every learner, we have a strategy for a young learner or for an adult learner. So knowing that, we can now be effective in transferring the knowledge that we have. Next, as teachers, we need to prepare materials. I believe that every teacher is a materials developer. So when you're teaching, you need to be prepared. Not just worksheets, but by preparation, you can make the class interactive. Okay? So the initial assessment serves as a baseline. It can be used later to measure your learner's progress. So, there are informal ways of obtaining information about students' proficiency. You can have them listen to audio tapes or audio recordings for listening skills. You can have them read book that they have chosen for reading. You can ask them to write a few sentences for a specific topic that they like for writing. And for speaking, just basic questions to start up a conversation. So these are informal ways to assess the level of your students. And why is it important? Because after that, you are going to get their level, their baseline. Are they 0 beginner, lower beginner, upper beginner, maybe lower intermediate, upper intermediate, or advanced? So knowing that, you can now design your lesson plan. Okay? Any more questions? So Tesol training is really needed by all teachers who wants to teach English to a different country. So I hope that you have learned today, and thank you.